Hello, my name is Emily Tingus and I'm a St. Tammany Parish Public School biology teacher. I'm so glad you could join me. In this lesson, we're going to go on a nature walk together. My students recently finished a study of ecology, and this outdoor study is a great way to demonstrate and view all of those ecology concepts. We're going to begin in my backyard and make our way through the wooded area behind it. As you can see, we've sort of created a forced food chain here with our bird feeder. I bought bird seed, which comes from our autotrophs or producers, and put it out for the birds or primary consumers to eat. I usually see and hear different populations of birds around the feeder. Remember, a population is organisms of the same species. One of my favorite is the red cardinal. Typically, I see a bright, beautiful red male flanked by 2 or 3 lighter colored females. The male is brightly colored to attract the females. Another important ecological factor out here is competition between the birds and squirrels, which are also primary consumers of the seeds. I put this cone on the feeder as a squirrel deterrent, but they still somehow jump and climb to get the bird seed. Kudos to the squirrels though. Survival of the fittest out here, and they're able to make it. Let's move into the wooded area now. So here's just a little bit more of the wildlife around. There's a squirrel. He actually just jumped off of the bird feeder. And then if we look way in the back, that little brown blob, that was a bunny. These woods are the habitat for many organisms that have unfortunately lost their habitat due to home construction in the area. For this reason, we sometimes have species coming into their unnatural habitat like a lizard in the garage or a spider in the house. You should be able to see here lots of plants or producers in this habitat. Their niche or role is to provide multiple aspects to their habitat. They're the bottom of the food chain or the first trophic level. They convert energy from the sun into usable energy and food for themselves, which ultimately becomes food for the other trophic levels. They are also key players in the carbon cycle, as the plants take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and give it to living things when consumed. Virtually all of the molecules in our body contain carbon, so plants are incredibly important. Plants also produce oxygen through photosynthesis, which we need to survive. When we inhale the oxygen and go through cellular respiration or breathing, we put more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere for the plants. This is sort of a symbiotic relationship of mutualism between plants and animals. All right, everybody, so I'm here kind of in the middle of a clearing. This is obviously a four-wheeler track. Makes a little circle in this clearing. And what I've actually found here in this sort of muddy area is some deer tracks. So there's one, and then if we keep going, that right there, kind of resembles possibly some armadillo tracks. But if we keep going, looks like, just sunk in the mud, it looks like another set of tracks there, and then a pretty perfect set right there as well. And it looks like they just kind of keep going through here. There is a pond that is nearby that the deer can go to. Let's continue on our path into more of the wooded area. We cleared this path so that we could make it back to the pond in our neighborhood, but it's a little bit smaller than the large open four-wheeler area that we just went through. All right, everybody, just taking a walk through and happened to glance down and see evidence of another primary consumer or herbivore. These are rabbit droppings, and that obviously tells me that little bunnies have been around here. They'll eat through the grass, they'll eat through smaller plants, and they primarily consume plants. Those rabbits will then become the food source or energy source for secondary consumers, which we've seen sometimes hawks or coyotes will eat the rabbits. Those secondary consumers would be carnivores in that instance, but they can also be omnivores, eating both plants and animals. Now, humans are typically omnivores, and they eat a variety of foods from a variety of sources. Humans are also the apex predator, or the top of the food chain. We may not be the biggest organism, but we certainly have the biggest brain and are able to outsmart our prey and our would-be predators. However, survival of the fittest applies to humans too. All right, everybody, continuing on our path, I wanted to point out another type of symbiotic relationship. This white covering on this tree, this is called lichen. Now, lichen is a mutualistic relationship between bacteria and fungus. You see, the fungus lacks chlorophyll, so it can't produce its own food, but the algae that lives with it, the other part of that mutualistic relationship, that algae produces carbon, and that is what the fungus needs. And so they live together on the tree in this mutualistic symbiotic relationship. I've just been walking through the woods, listening to the birds calling, saying they're awake. Baby birds may be saying that they're hungry. I saw some blue jays earlier fighting with each other. They were quite noisy, but they moved on. It appeared that two males were fighting over a female. Okay, here we've made it over to a smaller pond in our neighborhood. And as you can see here, I don't know if you can see it just yet, but we clearly have some plants that are thriving in this water area, in this ecosystem. This also provides a nice little walk down for the deer to get to that water source. Okay, so just down here, right outside of this smaller pond, I'm not sure if you can see it, but if you look just between those two trees, right there, that sort of hazy area, and there's a little fly flying around it, or maybe a gnat, that is a spider web. There's one just past it that's a little bit smaller. The spider has taken advantage of this great location near the water, and it's spun its web here. There are typically a lot of insects that will lay their larvae and lay their eggs near the water, and so the spider has a great chance of catching lots of insects in its web if it's near the water. So I just happened to catch that. Thought it was pretty cool. I don't see it, but I can hear it. I can hear a frog croaking. I'm gonna be quiet and see if y'all can listen. Okay, there it was. So obviously home here to frogs. I know we've also seen turtles in this area of the pond as well. I'm still near the pond area, everybody. Trying not to get too close and trying not to be too loud. I don't want to disturb their habitat. I also don't want to scare them away so that we can see them. But I'm going to walk on and see if I can find anything else. There's definitely a crow coming through. There it goes. All right, let's carry on. All right, everybody, we're coming to the end of our nature walk. I've walked through more spider webs than I care to, but enjoyed nature nonetheless. Hearing all the birds has been a nice way to wake up this morning. We're actually going to finish our nature walk near our neighborhood pond. Well, the second pond. Here it is over here. We're just going to cross over this little ditch and all the poison ivy and make our way to the pond. Neighbors will often come here and fish, do a little catch and release. We've caught catfish out here, and we've actually been working with LSU to create better habitat for the fish. Now, this pond actually forms as a drainage pond for the neighborhood, and it does connect out to the Tchefuncte River. There is a natural drainage canal just kind of on the other side of that fountain. And so sometimes, usually in the spring, usually around this time, we'll typically find a baby alligator that has made its way over to say hello. But in this pond, like I said before, we have fish that live here. We also have some turtles that have taken up residency in the pond as well. I hope you've enjoyed the nature walk, and I hope you've learned a little bit about ecology, and I hope to see you all soon.